Hello and welcome to the Rugby Chat podcast. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a podcast, YouTube channel, Twitter account, and an email address. No, not email address, sorry, website, bringing you the best in rugby predictions and opinion. And I think the new thing, just like you have on The Simpsons, and they zoom in and they all collapse into the sofa and something happens, this time it's going to be which bit is Paul going to mess up in the intro each week. And that's going to be the guesswork as to what's going on. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcasting app, 5 stars, all that kind of lovely majubbly. And if you'd like to watch what happens behind the scenes, check us out on YouTube at 8 p.m. every Tuesday, New Zealand time as well. Also, we're live on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. as well, so do pop back to the YouTube channel. Joining me this evening, we have all the way from a windy Hamilton is Jess. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
And all the way from a who knows what the weather's like in Thailand, but it will be hot. Herman, how are you doing?
I'm fine. The weather is really good too. Not like one of these too hot days, just like slightly above 30 degrees, but with a little bit of a breeze. So.
Oh, that breeze must be hard.
Jeremy, here I am in my fleece jumper because eating ice cream for dinner wasn't a good idea on the coldest day of the year so far. But there you go, all sorts of fun and games. Did you know, actually, sidetrack early on? There was a bar in where you are in Chiang Mai where they had a glass and it was shaped with like a bowl at the bottom, and they put ice in, they put water in the bottom and put it in the freezer, and then they put the beer on top of that, and as the ice melted, because it floated, it captured all the water and kept it all beneath in the bowl bit to help you keep your beer cold. It's a fantastic idea.
It sounds like the most tourist place ever, you know.
Oh dear. Anyway. We probably should get into our 5 questions. And will the Mitre 10 Cup stop being a breeding ground for talent with all the players skipping it? Is my first question for you this evening. Because the All Blacks don't play in the NPC anymore, Tom Franklin, Richard Buckman, and Jordan Tafua are all off to Japan during the Mitre 10 Cup this season, and then coming back for Super Rugby. Is the Mitre 10 Cup just going to be schoolboy rugby? Herman.
You want me to start?
Oh, yes, why not?
Well, it's not going to happen overnight, but I still think this is probably like one of the solutions that NCR is looking for to counter against the money up in the Northern Hemisphere, that they're going to allow players just outside the All Black squad, but actually allow them to go up and pick up a paycheck in Japan and then come straight back into Super Rugby. This is what I think we're going to see happen. And if this is true, well, there's going to be a lot more players going that direction, but it's going to take a couple of years at least before it's like full flow. But I think it's definitely something NCR are trying out.
And you saw in the live chat, you saw Sam Cane play for Bay of Plenty. That's going to be a couple of years ago now. I don't think he's played an NPC game for a while now. Jess?
I think it's fine that it's schoolboy rugby. Don't you think that helps like up-and-coming people get a little bit more confidence before jumping to Super Rugby and that level? I think it's fine.
I just think that one of the things that, if you look at the difference with Australian, the rugby in Australia and the rugby in New Zealand and South Africa, is that the jump between the Currie Cup and Super Rugby, or the NPC and Super Rugby, is much smaller than the jump up from, say, the Shoot Shield or basically club rugby. And in Australia, they've struggled with that, so they've actually had to go and put in a competition called the NRC, and it's nowhere near the level of the NPC. I mean, a lot of their coaches there are basically part-time or amateur. Or not paid, sorry, and they needed that level because they found the jump was too big. And if you get that jump too big, then that's one of the problems Australia's had, is they haven't had the talent. They're not ready for Super Rugby when they arrive, which is something we do see in here, though.
Yeah. What do you get? You reckon it's going to be a problem for New Zealand, Paul?
I think there could be a problem if the standard of the Mitre 10 Cup drops too much. Then the next level of this conveyor belt of talent that arrives isn't going to be ready to play Super Rugby. and they're going to get a shock.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a gap somewhere where it's going to hurt them, but I think long term, it's all about trying to keep as big possible numbers down in this region of the world to possibly be able to have a All Black selection. But that's what I think the agenda we're working after, like mainly right now, and that this is definitely a step in that direction.
It looks like it, and it's something we've seen in South Africa. I talked to the head of performance for the Lions 2 or 3 years ago now, when I did that interview with him. And one of the things they were doing was having flexible contracts to allow the top players who weren't in the Springboks to go play in Japan and then come back. We've seen it in Australia. Foley did it for a while, and he came back and basically ended up missing the first half of Super Rugby because he was injured and too knackered. We've seen it in New Zealand to a lesser degree. Places like Manonu, people like Manonu got to go to Japan and then came back and joined the Blues, and really looked off the pace and never played well for the Blues. Let's be honest. So I think you are sacrificing that first half of that Super Rugby season if you're not careful, because they just don't get an off season if they go out there and play. One of the things we've said about the Sunwolves and why they struggle is they have a 2-week preseason. So if you allow your players to go and play in the top league, then you're not going to then you get no Super Rugby preseason. Well, and so I think it's going to hurt.
The thing is, the next year top Rugby, they're going to finish the top league even before Christmas. So next year is going to be less of a struggle to play both the top league and Super Rugby.
Yep, we're going to have to see how that restructuring of the season goes and how long that lasts for, because it'll be fine for next year for this year, in 2018. But in 2019, are they allowed to play that league at the same time as the Rugby World Cup, for example? So I think
no, it's not going to be. They have adjusted it, so it starts more early before the World Cup, and then it's going to start. The next season is going to start after the World Cup.
But that's if it starts after the World Cup, then it's going to run later again. But okay, we'll see. I say 2018, I can see how it works. 2019, I think it's going to struggle because of the Rugby World Cup, and they can't start at the same time.
Again, like early 2020s when we actually don't have a season in 2019, and then we're going to play 2 in 2020.
Right. Okay. Jack Darby goes, some Wolves players shouldn't be playing in the top league, so they get a preseason. I'm sorry, playing just Super Rugby and playing no other rugby all season is not enough rugby in a year. Okay, if you're only going to be playing for 4 or 5 months, in a year, you're not going to be a very good rugby player. You need more rugby than that, really. Jumping on then, the Sharks had a great New Zealand leg to their tour, beating the Blues and only losing by 1 point to the Canes. Have they turned the corner? And are they now the favourites to top the South African Conference?
I think they're doing really well. I can hear myself talking. Yeah, I think why not? The Lions aren't doing great. I mean, they had a good weekend, but other than that.
The Lions start their tour not this coming weekend, but the weekend after for their 4 games. But the so the Lions have, whilst they are, I think it's 7 points clear of the Sharks. The Sharks have got a game in hand and they finished their tour already. So that's why I think that the Sharks could be on the rise after those 2 games. Herman, have you been impressed by their change in fortunes?
Oh, very much so, because I felt almost like Sharks because before the season there were a lot of signs when you're looking through the squad, and especially like the first 23 players. It's like some seriously good quality in there. I was a little bit on the hype train for the Sharks. Like they're gonna do serious. You were about to give up on them. They put into really good performances in New Zealand. Very, very impressive. I mean, a bit unlucky maybe against Hurricanes, but they got to look at the performance there, and they were in so many areas of the field. They were beating the Hurricanes in that game, so they should be really proud about their work and what we are right now, because this can become really good.
Yeah, I felt really sad for them. I thought they deserved to win against the Hurricanes.
And as we were talking before, Jess, you don't like close games. So the finding it too stressful, especially against the when it's the Chiefs playing. But Andres, who I know is a Sharks fan, what's he saying? There's a big gap. There's a chance the Lions could be caught by the Sharks. 6 out of 9 games are at home from now on for the Sharks. So they've only got three more away games, which will probably, I assume, will definitely include a trip over to Argentina in those 3 away games. But the rest of the time they'll be in South Africa, which makes life a lot easier for them.
Do you remember also, Paul, we talked about the other week that Sharks are going to play with Chiefs when Chiefs doesn't have any of their All Blacks players?
That's also, yep. Oh, wow. So Sharks have got a...
that's helping. You can do any kind of looking forward.
To be fair, though, I mean, how many of our All Blacks do we have that aren't injured at the moment anyway?
But those 2 blokes with Telic and Sam Kane.
I mean, I guess they do something.
I agree.
A little bit.
Average players, I mean, you can have them, not have them. Doesn't make any difference, really. No.
They are going to be extremely have a problem at locks because they've lost their second first. Too many locks already to injury, so they are going to struggle there. We'll have to it's going to be interesting to see what Hansen decides to do around that training camp and whether he's willing to give them some sort of dispensation or do the All Blacks trump everything. And so yes, we'll have to see that. So wow, so the Sharks got 6 games, 6 of the 9 remaining games at home, and one of those games is against the Chiefs, who'll be weakened because of All Blacks training weekend or training camp. Sorry. So yes, I think they're in with a very good shout of catching the Lions, who, I say, they start their tour in 2 weekends' time, around 10. And talking of scoring, this weekend the Chiefs managed to win their game at 21-19. But if they played any other than two teams, the Blues and I've just gone blank as the other team was, it got less than they got less. I think the Sunwolves. I think everybody else, it's Jaguars, wasn't it, against the Crusaders? Every other team scored more than 21 points this weekend. Has scoring just got out of control in Super Rugby? Are we being fed kind of basketball scores and not real kind of proper rugby?
There's just a lot of penalties, right? Is that the difference?
Well, I just say so. If so, I'm just going to quickly pull it up some of the scores from the weekend in other leagues, so we have some sort of comparison. Go on, up.
High scores make for better rugby, surely.
Yeah, but Paul.
Yep.
Do you think it's really comparable with other leagues? Because the distance between like the 6-7 best teams in Super Rugby and the worst 5, it's like you're always gonna have blow-up scores.
Yeah.
So so you think it's a quality gap in Super Rugby?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, that's especially the one that's have materialized between New Zealand and the other 2, but especially New Zealand against Australia. Like the last 2 or 3 years, it's been gone crazy. Australia just can't compete anymore.
But it just seems to me, even when you've got the New Zealand derbies, fine. In the amount of points that both sides give up is phenomenal. I mean, we end up with big scores.
Many. Look at the score lines in New Zealand derbies this year. There are not that many blowout scores.
Okay.
What did Hurricane beat the Crusaders? What was it? 29.
Okay, so the Hurricanes
29-20.
29-19, 29-12 against the Highlanders. So that's those ones.
The Chiefs have had really close
it's big,
games against every New Zealand
it's
team.
big scores, but that's not blowout scores.
Yeah, they're high scoring, but they're close. Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't think we're even like that high scoring.
Because I was running through. So
bad. I'm not saying we're low.
Oh, definitely not low scoring. Crusaders Chiefs was 45-23.
Yeah, I mean we are exceptions, but they are more exceptions, I think.
You're still seeing. I mean, most of the teams will score over 20 points. It's rare that you get a team that scores less than 20 points in a game now, which is still 3 tries. And they reckon, and there was definitely a time, definitely at international level anyway, where if you score three tries, the chances were you won the game. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And this is why the try bonus point was set to 4 tries. Getting 4 tries in a try bonus point was considered a good achievement. When we're now saying that teams will average at least, will as a minimum, will get 3 tries, it shows that there's definitely a lot more tries being scored nowadays than there were, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you don't think
not that many?
I think it's got a bit out of control. I think it's getting a bit basketball of a bit basketball-y, in which case kind of like teams are, if you don't, it's not so much the exception of scoring, it's the exception of not scoring when you head into the opposition 22. And I think I just think it's a bit too, it's a bit like drinking Coca-Cola all the time. There's just too much sugar in the rugby for us. We're going to get rugby diabetes from this. It's a gluttony of rugby for all this one. No,
I think it makes it more exciting.
Sorry, you speak, Jessica.
I just said I like it when they're high scoring and lots is happening. I prefer that.
Well, for me, obviously, the most important thing is that like it's a good contest. If it's an even game, I don't care if it's high scoring or low scoring, because just a battle to see which team like really who's gonna win it in the end is like that is the best drama of rugby, I think. But of course, if they score a lot of tries against each other while doing that, fine, go ahead, boys. But it can be just as good to see like proper defensive rugby too, when both teams like just refusing to let in tries.
Seems like I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat as well. It seems like I'm in the minority here, wanting to see a bit more of as you say, of that stronger defence and seeing the long 5 to 7 minutes of bashing against the try line and seeing the teams fight to hold them out, because apparently more tries are more important. But well, Andre's with me. There you go. I like lower but hard-fought game contests. Better excitement in that, he says. Whereas Christian and Jack are both with the more tries make it more exciting. So a little bit of I've got some support, but generally it's gone against me there on that one.
Thanks, guys.
Keep on fighting. Keep on fighting, Paul. Keep on fighting.
So we're going to go in a bit of a left field one, but should national teams be more representative of their country? And whilst a bunch of people are going to say, "Oh, Paul's going on the residency battle," no, I'm not. This is we're taking. I've got a friend at work who doesn't, who's not sporty at all, who came up with this idea that actually national teams should be a bit like jury service, should be picked randomly from the population, so they actually represent that country's population, rather than just being the top 15 best paid sportsmen. Perhaps we should have much more of a democratic way of getting the opportunity to represent your nation.
How can it be representative of the population if it's only going to be men within a certain age group? You'd have to have like children in the team and women and.
Well, we
what? Who said that to you? That's not smart.
Well, just a jury of your peers. So, for example, yeah, we only allow people to be on juries who are over 18.
But it wouldn't be representative because it would only be able to be men within a certain age group.
Oh, I don't know. It could be quite funny seeing some 50-year-old men having a go.
I don't want that for the All Blacks. I'd rather win. Thanks.
Dear me.
But I think that kind of arrangement. I think that kind of arrangement could probably stand by itself. obviously can never win over regular professional sport, but just as a TV show gimmick kind of thing, I could
mean,
be
I get it.
interesting.
I kind of go into a lottery to see if you get to play.
That would be amazing. Do we get the salary as well?
Yeah,
sign me up.
become a star.
I'm ready. Put me on the bench.
Just for one game.
You're just from New Zealand.
Yeah, I want to be a back, just so we're clear. I'm not interested in the scrum stuff. I want the glory, maybe like a wing. And I can kick, so.
You can kick. So
I was sick of seeing Bowden Barrett miss kicks last year, so I thought it's not really fair if I make fun of him if I can't kick myself. So I taught myself to kick. So now I can make fun of him, but he's kicking well, so he showed me.
Oh, well, there you go. All critics, all pundits, you're only allowed to criticize if you can do it yourself.
Yeah, I think that's fair, you know?
Oh dear, I could be in real trouble here. With my back, there's no way I can tackle anybody. So I'd have to give up and say, oh yes, all those missed tackles, that's absolutely fine because I can't tackle either. I did go back and play one tournament of sevens a couple of years back, and I managed managed to get brushed off once to allow in a try. And then I think I got involved in one ruck, and then they pulled me off the pitch and decided that yes, I'd done enough damage to the team already. It was time for me to be time for me to sit on the sideline with a beer and watch.
Imagine if they put a general population team in the ITM Cup just to like spice it up a bit. Maybe that's what the ITM Cup could become.
Ooh,
yeah.
Have like a like a Division 10.
That very have. That's proper reality TV.
Yeah, this is great.
It's gonna be good.
So Andre says good to see Kiwi teams following South African teams and kicking for goals, keep the scoreboard ticking and the pressure on the opposition. A little bit, obviously not one of the listed questions. Are you a fan of ticking over or keeping the score ticking over, or are you a fan of going for the jugular and scoring in sevens rather than threes?
I think the Chiefs learned a lot from the Hurricane Sharks game about how important it was to kick for goal, because that kind of won it, and I think it won it again. I think it's important to just get points, especially if they're going to be high scoring. It can make the difference. Like a try isn't guaranteed, whereas if it's like within a decent range, that the 3 points might be guaranteed to you, or depends.
I mean,
Herman?
I don't have the stats to prove it, right? Yeah, I don't have the stats to prove it like 100%, but I'm fairly sure that if you know it's going to be an even game, you're playing like a team that is at the same level as your team. You should always pick the points unless it's like very special circumstances. Maybe they have a yellow card, you go for a quick tap. Maybe you feel like you really have a pressure on it. Actually, you want to fish for a yellow card. The other team is under warning. Situation like that, you can go for a corner, try to milk something. But otherwise, I think if the other team is just as good as you, oh my God, kick the points, because that's usually going to help you in the end.
Because looking at some of the games recently, I remember last season, there was definitely a trend where if you got more than a try ahead, then you'd kick the points and just and keep applying the pressure. But until you got to a try ahead, they quite often went for the corner by the New Zealand teams. This season, we've seen the Crusaders are sticking with their going for the corner. They really didn't. They weren't really going for the threes like a lot of other teams have been doing. But over the last couple of weeks, we have seen other teams. The Hurricanes, I think, so they kicked something like 3 or 5 penalties all last season. They've already kicked more than that this season. So there's definitely been a trend away from it, back to kicking, which is for a lot of us. Yeah, I'm a great believer in keeping the scoreboard ticking over. I think you should do it. Take those 3 points. I think what the referee's got to make sure he doesn't allow is for the defending team to be giving up easy penalties that give away 3 and stop the sevens. Because I think if you allow them just keep giving penalties away, we have seen teams do that. They'll just do penalties they'll just give away penalties all day long, because if they're scoring in sevens but conceding in threes, they're going to win the game. So I think it involves strong referees to keep that kind of thing going. We've zoomed through the questions tonight, people. So any topics on your minds that you would like to have a chat about?
Can I just have a look at the games this weekend?
Oh, we're going to have a quick. So
sorry, I didn't hear what you say, Paul.
We've zoomed through the questions. We have plenty of time on our hands. So any topics you would like to have a chat about? Okay, let's look forward anyway to start off with. So which clashes are you looking forward to this coming weekend?
I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, but the Chiefs Hurricanes obviously is super exciting. But I've just read like 10 minutes before this that Damian McKenzie will be out. So that's not great because I didn't feel like we were going to win before that. But, you know, stranger things have happened. And I also think TJ might be out. So might level things up a bit.
If TJ and Bodie are both out, then that will certainly even things up a lot there.
Yeah.
I feel like the Hurricanes are doing so well, though.
They are, but Artie Surveyor was out as well at the weekend.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't know if he's back. Proctor was out, obviously, but that just brings an Arso, which is perhaps in some ways, even worse. So they are missing a number of their players. I think it's good. I'm also interested in seeing the Blues' reaction to losing to the Sunwolves last season and heading up to Tokyo. So that one has definitely got some intrigue around it after, because let's be honest, the Blues have taken an awful lot of flack over that loss to the Sunwolves last year.
Well, what do you reckon? Highlanders Brumbies should be pretty good too. Now with Brumbies got that like really impressive win.
Who is playing at home? Is it
Highlanders
over there? Oh, okay.
I still think Brumbies, when they are in form, you know, they usually can do like fairly well against New Zealand teams.
Unfortunately, the Brumbies game plan seems to be centred around lineouts, and I just can't see the Highlanders giving away enough penalties to allow the Brumbies to get lineouts in the Highlanders half. So that one, I must admit, I'm not that.
In terms of injuries, I think the Highlanders are doing the best of the New Zealand teams, right?
Yeah.
They have the least amount of. Everyone else seems to have a lot of injury. Well, the Chiefs mostly, but yeah.
Yeah, and they're gonna have a second bye now, like after this weekend.
So I mean, I think Richard Buckman in the back line is about the only person I can think of that is injured for the Highlanders. Would be a first choice player. There might be others.
Is Sopanga gonna be back? He stepped up last time, but was just a minor injury, was it?
Oh, that's true. Yes, Sopanga went off, but the Falcon came on and played absolutely fine. So as we said, I mean, opportunity quite often is all that's stopping a lot of these players stepping up and being Super Rugby players, as we've seen.
Have you noticed that a lot of the 10s, the Crusaders 10, Chiefs, and Hurricanes have all had their 10 have injuries? Oh, and Lima went off as well.
Lima went off. Stephen Perifessa had a hand injury at the beginning of the season.
Isn't that crazy?
We have seen, a lot of 10s getting
and
injured.
the 9s as well. Really, Brad Weber as well.
We've lost Weber. Pulu the Blues has gone. Perenara's gone. So
maybe I do want to be a forward.
And then there's two more. Waratahs Reds will be interesting as well. Can the Brad Thorne effect work there? But it looks like the Waratahs have picked things up, so that one shouldn't. That one might not be as close as we're suggesting. And Sharks Bulls. Sharks coming back from New Zealand, so having all that travel issues. But against the Bulls will be definitely a good test for them as well. So if we've not got any other topics, we could just run through our predictions then. So Hurricanes versus Chiefs. What's your thoughts then, Jessica? You've already said that
so I just want to make it clear in case people aren't taking note. The Chiefs beat the Hurricanes in the 2 games they played against them last year. I know it's a much different team and different coach, but I think that it will be close. I do think the Hurricanes will just out, but I like to think that maybe the Chiefs could do it. But I think it will be like Hurricanes by a few, 2-3 points.
Oh, a close one by the Canes.
Yeah.
Herman?
Yeah, I really would like Chiefs to win this one with a couple of points, but I don't see it happening. So yeah, I'm probably very, very close to Jessica, like Canes by 4.
And I'm Canes by 7. I think at home, that's how all the New Zealand derbies have gone so far, apart from obviously the Chiefs beating the Blues. I can't. I think Hurricanes by 7 for me on that one. So up to Tokyo, Sunwolves versus the Blues.
Sunwolves by 50. No. I would love that. Blue by 15 or 20. They've got something to prove, probably. I hope they can do that anyway.
Herman?
Oh, it's a tricky one. How about Blues? Blues are better on performance. I'd say Blues by 12.
I've gone Blues by 10. I think that last year was at the end of the season. It was after the Lions tour. They'd been on the beach all week. So I'm going for Blues by 10. I think the fact they lost last year will be a big wake-up call. Also,
can I quickly ask a question because we have time? How do these Sunwolves keep their morale up? That must be really hard every week to go into games that everyone say you're going to lose and you lose a lot. I mean, how many games did they win last year?
2 last year.
Yeah, how do you keep it going? It's like
that was one more than the year before because they only won 1 in the first season, I think.
Oh, so maybe 3 this year. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I
reckon
I sat down with someone at work, and you can tell I'm really busy at work, so please, hopefully no one from work is watching. But we went through and looked at the rest of the fixtures by the Sunwolves, and they've got the Blues at home in Tokyo, then they've got Sharks for the Stormers, but that's in Hong Kong. They've got another game in Singapore to come. So I don't think they've got any more games. This is one of maybe the last 2 games in Tokyo that they've got this season.
Yeah.
So if they don't win this, they're not going to win a game this season. That's how close it is for them, unfortunately. So the idea of them getting 3 wins this season, it's just not going to happen.
You never know. I mean,
I agree with Jesper. I mean, they will have 1-2 performances in them eventually.
Yeah.
No, if they don't win this weekend, that's it. They're done because of the travel. It's just too much for them. Also, you've got to remember that Jamie Joseph will be in Singapore with the Japanese team during the June window, so he's not actually going to be back to managing the coaching during that window for all the players. So I do think that they're going to struggle for a win this season for the Sunwolves. They needed to get on early doors, and it hasn't happened because of their no preseason. As far as motivation, have you watched one of their games yet this season?
Yeah, I
I've seen them all.
Chiefs one.
I've seen them all.
The crowd there is second to none.
Okay.
The howling they get from their fans is fantastic. I love it. From an atmosphere point of view, it's probably the best. It's one of the best atmospheres you're going to get at a game, I think, in Super Rugby.
Yep.
From their fans. So from that, whilst they are losing, their fans are great. There are lots. Whilst we as pundits are saying they haven't got a hope, their fans are turning up and supporting them all the way through the game. And so I think from that point of view, I do think their fans are what keeps them motivated. And also, they're all playing for Japanese national. They're playing for the Japanese national coach to try and get themselves in the Japanese national team. So that's also a motivation for it as well. It's about getting in that. Every game is a trial game for them to play for the national team as well. So I think those things do help keep going. But you're right; it must be tough losing by double figures every week.
Yeah.
But I want to add that too also about the crowd. I agree with everything you say, but I would also say that they are pretty knowledgeable and show real sportsmanship too. They're always applauding the other team when we score great tries.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I mean it's like almost like a over-the-top advert for how like a rugby crowd
Yeah.
should behave, you know.
More about the whole experience rather than your team winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and I think they're all excited about seeing obviously the Rugby World Cup going there as well, which just helps keep the fans turning through. So definitely. So that was the Sunwolves versus the Blues. I said Blues by 10. Yep, that's it. Rebels versus the Jaguares. Rebels, I still think on 20 points, so second or something in the table. The Jaguares up and down. What's who and by how many?
Rebels 20. Sorry.
No, I have to apologise. That's all. Herman?
No, I go Rebels probably by. I would say Rebels by 5. I think it's going to be really, really close. I think Jaguars has improved a little bit. Yes, we didn't beat the Crusaders, but I still say in patches, we are. I think everyone can see improvement in the game right now. Not so many yellow cards anymore, not so many penalties anymore. I mean, it's not like massive improvement, but it's better.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the travel again will be too much for them. I'm going Rebels by 7, but you're right, it could blow out and be a 20-point game, like Jess says, I think. But yeah, so definitely home win, comfortable home win there. We then head down to the South Island, and luckily they get to play indoors because the weather outside is horrible. Highlanders versus the Brumbies. How do you see that one going?
Highlanders 10 by 10.
Owen? Owen?
Oh, sorry.
I still haven't heard you. What's your prediction, Herman? Highlanders and Brumbies.
Oh,
what's
sorry, my internet is messing up here. All right.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
All right. Highlanders against Brumbies. Oh, I think it's going to be like actually a real cracking game. If Brumbies is on the up, it'll be a good contest. But Highlanders by 6 points in the end.
Highlanders by 15. I see this being a comfortable home bonus point victory. Absolutely. Yep. This is I can't see the Brumbies. Yes, they had that good win last weekend over the Reds, but the Reds are a young, fragile side. They lost to the Waratahs at home the weekend before. Yeah, I think the Brumbies have still got a long way to go.
Do you know what's really funny? I do Super Brew picks, and then what I see on here is completely different. I'm just gonna see what I pick.
This is, jeez, that's why I take a note of them. They're all written down beforehand. Waratahs versus the Reds. Herman?
Oh, look, I said exactly what I said.
The biggest surprise from the last round, I would probably say, was the way the Reds lost with. They looked like so good the first 20 minutes, and then completely collapsed. I didn't see that one coming. So what now? Waratahs, they're looking pretty hot. No, I'm gonna back Waratahs by 11. Waratahs gonna win this one with 11. Comfortable Waratahs win over the Reds.
Jess?
Yeah, I said Waratahs by 7.
Waratahs by 7. Okay, I'm going Waratahs by 5. Luckily for them, the Falau thing seems to be he's got a slap on the wrist, and not even that actually. Just please be nicer.
I got blocked by him on Twitter.
Stephen Jones used to be the kind of standard. Make sure everyone has to be blocked by Stephen Jones. Now the latest one is everyone has to be blocked by Falau. That's been the common thread on my Twitter feed is that everyone's been getting blocked by him. Yeah, great rugby player. Yeah, not someone I want to know.
But his legacy will be all of this instead of his rugby playing.
If he goes quiet and doesn't talk about it again, I think.
Look, he said that he was being persecuted and all that. He doesn't want to. He's just going to keep going with it. If
he keeps going with it, then this will be his legacy. If he shuts up, then his legacy is going to be the fact that he's the highest scoring Australian in Super Rugby.
Yeah.
Try scorer, sorry, not score. Then finally, the Sharks versus the Bulls over in South Africa to finish off the round. Herman?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Jess.
I was really eager. Sharks by 10.
Herman?
Yeah, I'm with you, sir, too. Like Sharks by 8.
I'm going to the Sharks by 5. I think they've turned a corner, and so I think if we'll see how they go after the travel. And but yeah, the Bulls haven't been looking great since their victory over the Hurricanes first out. So I've got Sharks by 5. So cool. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and it's cold and blustery evening in New Zealand as I'm all wrapped up in my big fleece from Placemakers. So yeah, prediction leagues, go on Super Brew. You'll find DrivingMaul's got prediction leagues, everything there, and also Placemakers pump for prizes and get your free jumper to keep you warm in winter. That's how I got this one last year. Was via predictions. So cool. Thank you, Jess, for joining us. Do you want to let everyone know how to, or if you want to chat rugby and stuff or not?
Yeah, sure. On Twitter, I am at JAM8391.
Cool. And Herman, how can everyone? Oh no, they can't talk about rugby with you because they can't because you are the social media ghost. You don't really exist. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody. I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Please remember to subscribe down below, red box or my face there. If you're watching YouTube, there's a box there with my latest video as well for the recording. Obviously, if you're listening on a podcast, well, look, it's already on the app. Just click subscribe and keep it coming. 5 stars, reviews, all that kind of stuff helps us as well. And if you have enjoyed it, how about telling your friends and sharing it around nicely? That would be really nice of you. So cheers and enjoy whatever rugby you're watching.